Like the artist Chip Lord's half-buried Cadillacs in the Texan desert, the fishing boats of Kazakhstan rise from the salty plain that once was the bed of the Aral Sea. But this is no art installation. It's not a seaside attraction extolling the freedom and mobility of ships. It's a folly, the legacy of the Soviet Union's plan to divert rivers to grow cotton. Those diverted rivers no longer fed the Aral Sea, creating, in the words of the United Nations Environment Programme, one of the most staggering ecological disasters of the 20th century. But changes are afoot. There is hope on the horizon. Time was this landscape was immersed under 48 meters of water. Then the Aral Sea was the fourth largest inland body of water in the world. Then it covered 68,000 square kilometers from Kazakhstan in the north to Uzbekistan in the south. Now it's mostly a desert, the sea a quarter of its original size, and all because of cotton.
The history is well known. In order to have full protection and independence, the Soviet Union needed to grow a lot of cotton. It's one of the ingredients of gunpowder.
Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan.
Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan provided a lot of cotton. I remember that Uzbekistan had a quota for 7 million tons a year. We produced around 350,000 tons. Naturally, in order to produce so much cotton, seeing as we had the soil and the sun, the only resource really needed was water.
The town of Aralsk was the major fishing port on the Aral Sea. In 1995, Earth Report documented the catastrophe.
The town of Aralsk once sat on the northern shore of the Aral Sea. Today it is landlocked, stranded in a new man-made desert, over 80 kilometers from the water that gave it life. Karatai Arestanova is 59 years old and remembers all too well.
The
sea was our life and our wealth. We were happy. Look what has happened to our boats. Now we have so many problems. We were once rich because we had the Aral Sea, but we are witnesses to its destruction. The fish were our wealth.
Karatai came to Aralsk as a young girl. She worked in a lively cafe by the harbour. She remembers the days when the town drew holidaymakers from throughout the Soviet Union. She sold them ice cream and mineral water.
But we are still hoping.
Karatai was hoping for change. What has changed in the town of Aralsk in the 12 years since Earth Report last visited is, well, not very much.
This used to be a huge port. There used to be two massive ships standing there called Vostok and Kommuna. This used to be a dock where ships were loaded to go to Uzbekistan. The crane you can see used to be functioning. This used to be a genuine coastline. Since then, the sea has retreated, and now there is just this garbage.
There's not only a lack of water, there's a lack of a future, especially for the young. Dalet Bek Abdullah and his wife have 2 children.
In big cities, there are lots of jobs that my children could have, depending on their professions. If they came back, they would just get their diplomas and walk around because there are no jobs here. You can't get one.
If they have any brains, they'll go away and study at university or college. But if they don't, they'll stay here and just become low-skilled workers.
Around 1976, the retreating sea has resulted in bad ecological effects on the people who live here. People falling ill and sweating.
All because the wind blows up the dust and sand very easily.
The dust storms have been photographed from outer space by NASA. They are so vast they swirl for hundreds of kilometers around the weather systems. Earth Report travelled south towards the water, skirting the old seashore. In the village of Bekhiristan B, farmer Kelamadin Kusimakov has lost the struggle with the dust and salt left behind by the receding sea. Each year, the International Fund on the Aral Sea says up to 100 million tons of salt and dust from the dry bottom of the sea is blown onto nearby arable and rangelands, destroying fertility.
There are no plants at all that can grow in this land. Living standards are very low. It's almost impossible to live. We are living like this, with no money, no coal, no profits or earnings.
But if Kelamadin can hang on for a bit longer, things could change.
The dam that's being built is 200 or 300 kilometres away, very far. We don't know what's going on out there. It's just too far away for us to feel any of the effects.
Out there, the utter devastation that was the sea is now being transformed by a dam. The Kazakhstani government, with loans of over 67 million from the World Bank, have built a dam that has brought back more than 40% of the North Aral Sea. Some 50 years ago, the Aral Sea bridged Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. By 2002, work began on the dam. It's already starting to reverse one of the world's worst environmental disasters.
In order to fill the northern part of the Aral Sea, this dam has been built. It's 13.5 kilometres long, partially using the natural coastline. On my left we have the northern Aral, which is filled up to the projected level. On the right we have the excess water channel that flows down into the South Aral.
The southern Aral is controlled by Uzbekistan. They are still growing cotton, using the diverted rivers that would otherwise feed the southern Aral Sea. The dam now refilling the north took 3 years to build and has raised the sea level to 44 metres. As the waters approach, surrounding communities can see hope on the horizon. Some of the changes the dam has brought to the Aral Sea are profound. For instance, dried up wells are now being replenished as the sea creeps back towards Kara Teren.
We are okay now, here in the village. Life is getting much better. We don't have enough water to breed cattle yet. The sea is still too far away for that.
Aral Dengizi'nin boyunda 4-5 zavut bolgan, 30'a balıkçı kolxoz bolgan.
Around the Aral Sea there used to be 4 or 5 factories. I used to work in one of them. Previously the villages around this region were able to supply 40 or 50,000 tons of fish a year.
It's the fishermen who have been hurt most by the lost sea. When Earth Report was last here, we visited the once busy fishing port of Bugun.
The village of Bugun in northern Kazakhstan. This was once the Aral seabed. The sea provided jobs for 60,000 people in the region. This 70-year-old fished all his life and ended up running the fish processing plant.
My son would have been a fisherman. I would have taught my son to be a fisherman. If there was water again here, I would ask my son to follow in my footsteps. He has a boat, a net, we were okay, but the sea has vanished.
But 12 years later, in the nearby village of Karataren, there are smiles all round. The waters and fish have returned.
Every time we go fishing, I catch about 200 fish. I can sell each kilogram of them for 15 tenge, about 12 cents. My family lives off fishing. Being next to the water gives me the opportunity to fish and live off the fishing.
About a fifth of the 15+ million people who live in Kazakhstan work on the land or as fishermen. Growth in the country, aided by the development of oil reserves, is in double figures, while unemployment is in single figures and dropping.
So we have more hopes that life there is going to become better. It already has started to become better, as we can see the difference, the real difference, over the last 10 years. We used to go there and eat lamb, because fish had become a delicacy. But now they don't give us fish. They give us lamb, because they've already sold all the fish.
Well, not all of it. Once again, fish is served in Idabek's home.
Бұрынғы қиыншылықтардың бәрі артта қалды. Қазір жақсымыз. Өзім осы балдардың ортасында немере сүйіп отырған.
Nowadays, things are better. The old days are behind us. Here with my children and grandchildren, I'm now a happy mother.
Сол қиыншылықтарды енді жеңіп, ол қазір енді жақсымыз ғой, енді оның бәрін не қылып.
The general view is that the living conditions in the village are better and everyone is working.
Болады ғой енді.
There is a big psychological improvement.
Жақсы, бәрі жұмыста, қазір ауыл көркейді, бұрынғы қарағанда қазір жақсы бәрі.
Since the opening of the dam, there were plenty of jobs. I spend most of my time fishing. Life in the village is good.
Енді келешек өзіміздің арман үмітіміз енді балаларымыздың білім алып, қатарынан кем болмай енді барлық мүмкіндік осы.
I hope that the children of the village will grow up to be intelligent and have living standards like those in the cities. We are all trying our best to help the development of the region.
Дамып жатыр ғой қазір енді бәрі сол дамыған өмірді көріп, сол қолымыздан келгенше өсіреміз енді.
We believe in the future.
For them, the future is fish. Mayor Zienbayev is planning a celebration that will become an annual event in Karataren.
The 9th of July is Fisherman's Day, and we're planning to have a massive festival. We will need to start giving out instructions and organising. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
But the mayor is looking forward to more than the festival. He's found himself right in the middle of all the changes that the dam has brought to the sea.
1,578 people live here in the village. As a civil servant, I help local people to improve by listening to them and guiding them through the problems that arise in their lives. We are trying to develop the schools and healthcare in the village, so I consult with the doctor and employers in the healthcare system in order to find solutions. 5 years ago, there was lots of unemployment here. Now, with the arrival of the sea and foreign construction, we don't even have a word for unemployment anymore.
The first dam will not be enough to totally revive the Aral Sea. An extension is now under construction.
In the last 3 years, the sea level has risen, and so have the living standards. If the Aral Sea region fills up to its former levels, then this could bring about a lot more profits and finance to the region. Then our futures would become even brighter.
The extension will refill the lakes close to Kazakhstan.
Well, you'll have to take it off. Otherwise the crane will have a very long distance to carry. At least we can't say we have nothing to do. You have your jobs. Let's go.
The Kazakhstani government began building this extension in 2004. Local investment, jobs, and soon water will be flooding into the region.
The cost of this project is 1.5 billion tenge, $12.5 million. The most recent phase began on the 1st of April, and there are currently 150 people employed on this site. We are about to start recruiting even more people. There are a total of 20 Russian specialists on the site, and the rest are local Kazakhs, like the supervisors and the rest of the professionals.
The feeder lakes being refilled by the dam's extension will be used partly as a fish nursery to replenish the northern Aral Sea.
The objective of this extension is to fill up the lake systems of Kazakhstan, Bugun, Kazakhstan, and Zhanakovalis. There are 8 lakes that are dried up at the moment. To fill these lakes, we are constructing 8 weirs.
даст возможность заполнения этим озером. Значит, ведется строительство 8 сооружений водовыпусков.
The end result will be the spawning of fish in the 8 lakes. All the fields will be completely flooded with water, and then they'll be able to yield crops once more.
Значит, будут затоплены луга. Это значит, и сенокосы откроются.
But this will still not completely refill the North Aral Sea. So the government is planning a second dam, which they say will bring the waters back to Aralsk.
The next phase is being developed at the moment. One more dam is being built, 25 kilometers long. The purpose of the dam is to get the sea up to a depth of 46 meters. After this phase, the water will be just 14 kilometers from Aralsk. So we are going to construct a channel up to Aralsk, because there is a natural basin in Aralsk.
значит, и будет соединена Аральск.
If in 2010 the waters returned to Aralsk, it would bring to an end a nightmare that's lasted over 30 years. Dawlatbek Abdulov and his wife live in penury, but also in hope.
If the sea comes back, illness would decrease. The plants would grow, crops would grow, and factories would start up again. People wouldn't be leaving Aralsk for other big cities. Life goes on, doesn't it? With or without money. We'll still be alive.